The Eames House, otherwise known as Case Study House Number 8, was designed by Charles and Ray Eames themselves and completed in 1949. It's a modern house located in Pacific Palisades, California, and went on to serve as the Eames' personal home and studio. This project is regarded as the most successful of the 25 experimental buildings from the case study program, and that took place between the 1940s to the 1960s. This program was created by the publisher of arts and architecture magazine, John and Tenza, whose idea was to create and furnish modern homes that were highly influenced by techniques developed during World War II. The Eameses created Case Study House Number 8, directed it towards married apartment dwellers who worked in design and graphic arts, such as themselves, with an interest in international style houses. This project's design combines an orthodox, modernist structure with Victorian clutter and is generally characterized as reflective of a feminized, decorative, non-modern impulse, which is usually ascribed to Ray Eames. Ray's training and practice as an artist played an important role in the design of the Eames house, adding an eclectic, personal touch to an otherwise modern home. The Eames house represents a dual nature between Charles's structural and modern design and Ray's artistic design, to make it an unconventional modern home that is incorporated into an everyday living environment. Charles Eames was born in 1907 in St. Louis and was a member of the architectural youth that was circumscribed by the Great Depression. His father died in 1921, and Charles was working for a local steel company by age 14 in order to aid in supporting his family, where he developed drawing skills and engineering principles, which eventually earned him an engineering scholarship. However, he had already decided that he wanted to pursue architecture. Eames was greatly influenced by the Finnish architect Lille Saarinen. Saarinen is a well-known classic modern designer. This can be seen in the modern style of Case Study House Number 8. The plan of the Eames house reflects the architectural and engineering background of Charles by creating two separate spaces, one for living and one for working. Ray Kaiser was born in Sacramento in 1912 and started studying art in New York in the early 1930s. She studied with the painter Hans Hofmann, who was a very important and well-known studio teacher at this time. Ray learned Hofmann's ideas of enthusiastic transmission of European principles of abstraction, as well as his strong emphasis on the structure of the picture plane, and his incorporation of biomorphic and quasi-figural forms in non-representational composition. These teachings all influenced Ray's design approach, especially after her interests were redirected to the applied arts. While designing the Eames house, Ray focused on creating a feminized, decorative, non-modern interior, as her input as an artist was seen in the approach to interior design. However, Ray's input on the arrangement of the parts, colors, and materials for Charles's framework helped to determine some of the exterior elements for the house as well. For example, though Charles created a grid-like facade design for the house in order to give it a more modern structure, Ray's incorporation of uniquely using primary colors shows her input on the exterior and gives a look into her more artistic design approach. Though Ray and Charles had their own design styles, both of their ideas were incorporated into the Eames house. Charles' focus was on the exterior of the house, in which he emphasized a very modern showbox feel, while Ray's techniques could be seen more inside, with a more cluttered, collectible feel. Many aspects of the house can be described as childlike. This can be compared to a film created by Charles and Ray themselves called The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire. This film is another example of how, despite their different design techniques, they compared and contrasted individual ideas to produce outstanding art in multiple medias. In her essay, Reflection on the Eames House, Beatriz Colomina comments on Ray's contribution to the house, saying, "For the Eames, the real architecture of the house was to be found in their endless rearrangement of the collectibles within it. The real space was to be found in the details of their daily life." In many ways, Ray Eames' artistic perspective is incorporated into the home. In the early stages of the development of their home, Ray used photographs and Hofmann's collage method to figure out a design. Ray's early sketches of the house include collages and colors which are much more gestural in comparison to the more traditional plans created by Charles. Charles Eames' influence on the house can also be seen within the interiors of Ray's work. He created a light, airy, and open effect through his use of spacious rooms and sliding glass doors, which gave the house transparency in opposition to Ray's clutter. The walls are also painted neutral colors or left as natural wood, giving the interior a very modern feel. The grid-like facade of the house portrays a modern look designed by Charles, but is also accented with color throughout. Although both Ray and Charles are unique in their contributions, the small additions of bright colors combined with a more natural modern design come together to create a dynamic and complex living space unlike many other modern homes. The Eames house was designed to be modern, but also diverge from many typical modern qualities of buildings. Modern buildings are known to be expensive, and Charles boasted on the house's $1 per square foot cost. This contrasted with the $11.50 per square foot for the construction with wood at the time. Despite this making the house seem different compared to most modern buildings, the Eames received criticism for their inability to account for labor or costs of steel in their proposed cheaper building. The actual cost of the final design was never revealed. However, it was undoubtedly expensive. Despite their attempt to try and propose a cheaper form to modernism in their construction aspect, the house still did vary among other modern homes at the time as a result of Charles and Ray's differing contributions. The Eames house is designed along eucalyptus trees which sit closely to the facade of the house and cannot be photographed without some view of the trees. The trees cast shadows onto the facade and can be seen through the transparent windows within the interior of the house. This mark of the trees on the facade adds complexity and is considered a part of the overall design. As a result, the facade is seen as organic and constantly moving, instead of the more static interpretation of modern homes. Eames' house is also unique in its difference from other modern homes at the time. Modern houses like Villa Savoye by Le Corbusier or the Farnsworth House by Mies van der Rohe have clear understandings of cubic forms through combination of Renaissance perspective and distance. However, the Eames house purposely goes against this viewpoint. The 2D facade is affected by its interior and exterior surroundings, making it impossible to get an uninterpreted view of the house without encountering a part of the natural setting. As a result, the building is not a static, modern structure, but a changing and dynamic living space that makes it so unique to other modern buildings at this time.